All right, we welcome back to the Outer Roll podcast, Ev Bomarito from Vaughn Custom Sports, our first recurring guest from the Outer Roll. Ev, good morning. How we doing today?
Oh man, I'm buzzing right now. How are you guys?
We are buzzing as well. Excited to have you back on. I know we'll kind of jump right into some of the Vaughn stuff that's happened since the last time we had you on. So I'll let Grayson take the lead on that stuff.
Yeah, as we remember, right when we had you last time, the V9 stuff was about to come out. So I just wanted to hear how the launch for that went, and then going into a global pandemic, how you guys transitioned as a company to adapting to the surrounding issues, and then also as a company, just like what happened there, and how you guys are right now.
Man, how much time we got? Because that's a lot of questions, and I got a lot of answers, man. Um, no, dude, it's great to be back. Thank you guys for having me. But we started off obviously, like you said, trying to release the V9. We were super excited. Then the pandemic hit, and when you can't travel to see people, and we can only send out demos, that makes things a little bit more tough, right? One of our big push, like in the spring, early spring, like right when I seen you guys, we already start kind of talking to college kids in February, March, and then we need to get them locked in by April pretty much to get them set up for the next year. So when you can't go see those teams, it makes things a little bit more difficult. But
Mhm.
in this day and age, you guys are in Dallas, Texas. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, and we're connected via Zoom, right? So that's how we figured things out. You started using different resources where it was just technology. We had to make the world closer through uh, FaceTime on your phone, using Zoom, doing Skype, like anything you can do to just communicate with people. So, with that being said, the V9, once we got it to people and they could see it, they could hold it, they could try it, it just took off. It ended up being one of our most exciting pads in the last couple of years next to the SLR, just because, excuse me, it's everything you kind of wanted in the Velocity, right? Now we
Yeah.
have the option to do a softer boot. You finally trim down the top gusset of the pad, so it has that thinned down modern profile. The outer rolls trimmed down a little bit, trying to get to that closer being flatter look. um Overall, the whole rotation and the way the pad flexed is just, it was like it was in its prime, right? Now with
Mhm.
that being said, once we got it into everybody's hands, they loved it. The gloves were great, blocker was good, everything was received really well, and the chest is something that was actually very surprising to me because we had the V7 and the VE8, which have some tweaks in between those two generations, but they're, when you look at them from, you know, maybe like we could say Jason's point of view, he'd say, "Oh, those look pretty similar. There's not many changes." But when you look at the V9, everything's different, right?
Mhm.
So, with that being said, it was received so well. The way it wraps the body, guys feel so much more comfortable. They feel like they look so much bigger. I actually just recently had a guy who's he's gonna play with the OHL this year, the Flint Firebirds. He actually just demoed one coming from his CCM and he loved it. He loved the mobility, the way the arms felt, how it wrapped. The protection was great. He absolutely loved it. So we're really excited to kind of get that out there and start showing that to guys, just because that's one thing we've been known for. I mean, Mike started in a garage in Pontiac building chest protectors. That's
Mhm.
where Vaughn hockey started, right? So the V9, we're really really excited, and we're gonna have it for another year. So we're gonna be continued to help push that and show that off to guys that are looking for something with a little bit more flex, a little bit more rotation. Now, with that being said, I always love new. Grayson, I know you always love new.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
love the new
Always new.
phones. I'm sure you love
Always think
new
whatever
everything,
I have
right?
is going to be the top notch of whatever I'm using, and then something new comes out. I'm like, all right, we're using the new stuff.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, it's tough, but if you are somebody that wants something a little bit more stiff, somebody, that wants that rebound to have a little bit more pop coming off the pad, you want it to look a little bit bigger, bulkier. I mean, the SLR is still going to be a great lineup. So, with that being said, you also mentioned looking into the pandemic and the shutdown and how crazy that was. I mean, in Texas, you guys have had it pretty weird, huh? You guys
Yeah.
opened up a
Yeah,
little
we've had like
earlier, or?
blend of it was bad and a lot of stuff happened and then it was still bad and everything just opened back up. So we're in kind of a weird limbo of like people are probably doing too much stuff, but that's just kind of how we're going to live, I guess.
Hey man, you guys are in the Wild West. Anything goes. It's
Yeah.
Texas, baby.
Uh-huh.
Wild West. I
Uh,
one
Young
question
and
did come up.
restless.
Yeah, one question did come up that speaking on new things, I was thinking about this. I forget what it was about, but it's like how far can you? It was about ice cream. Literally, when I was driving, so we got ice cream yesterday for some fundraising thing for him, and I was thinking like, how far can you like take ice cream? Because I was like thinking like from like a development standpoint, because it's like whack flavors. Like, how far can you take that? So it's I found that kind of the same situation as like goaltending. Like, how new can you get and how much can you improve something before you hit this cap that like I feel like a few years ago we thought we hit that cap, and then Vaughn came up with brand new stuff, and then looking at some other companies, they like put out completely new pads. You're like, this is completely new. This is something I would never even think of. So it's like, how far do you think you can take that with goaltending from a development standpoint? Where do you even think like the cap might be?
And that's a great question, and it's kind of a two-parter. One, I think you're starting to see like currently today, you have to dial in on simple things. It's not, are we going to rebuild the pad? Are we rebuilding the wheel? Pads are great as they are. They
Yeah.
function, the way they're built, they're covering, they're sealing. I mean, we just had Kevin Weeks on between two posts, and he brought up something that was classic. And for older goalies, you'll remember this was like the original V1, V2 pad. That was the first boxier pad that helped you butterfly and seal the ice, right? So
Mhm.
that took us into where we're at today. Now everybody butterflies. Like, I mean, occasionally you get people. Well, like I play a little bit of a hybrid. I'm more of a stand-up guy. Now, if you're like 45 and up, and you're telling me you're a stand-up guy, highly believable. But if you're uh 35 or younger, I mean, maybe the hips are gone, the knees are shot at 35. So let's go. I'm 27, so let's go 30. We'll go 30 and under. 30 and
Yeah.
under, guys. If you're telling me you play stand up, it's highly unlikely because you've been taught how to do both. You mix in butterfly and then you mix up stand up saves, and everyone's doing a little bit of both. No one should always just be on the ice. With that being said, every pad's built to butterfly now. So, getting back to my point, with everything and the pad being so good across many brands, especially ours, of course, Vaughn,
Mhm.
little plug. You have to dial in on small things. You're dialing in on strapping. You're dialing in on the core. You're dialing in on the weight, or you're dialing in on graphics. You've seen some people go a different route where they just want to focus on graphics, not necessarily how the product is built, materials, but like what can we do to change the face here. But with that being said, those things all have their cycle where I think everyone was so blown away with, oh, we can do this, and the other thing. Now I see pads coming out and there's no spark. There's no, like,
Yeah.
where was the whole you can do anything you want here? Now everyone's just doing stock stuff, and it's just like, well, what's the point now? But with that being said, I think in terms of developing pads and where we see things going, as of right now in today's day and age, it's going to be focusing on small things like the bungee toe tie. I mean, that came out what, like 4 or 5 years ago, but it's always
Very-
being perfected, right?
Yeah.
So
I
with
feel like
that
we
being
really first saw the elastic trends coming in like 4 years ago, like you said,
yep.
like with most pads around like I guess like a P4 era and then like the V4,
Mm-hmm.
like around that sort of area where it was like leather straps were still the predominant thing, but you had a elastic strap like on
Yep.
the inner calf.
Yep.
But now you're seeing pads that are completely all elastic straps and then like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch and like
Yep.
most people don't even use a like a leather bootstrap now. I
Yep.
still do, but I know for Vons that has like the elastic strap in the middle, which is like game changing. You can set up everything so much different
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like that's like the perfect middle between for someone like me who wants still like that leather connection at the back of the skate, but still wants the flexibility of like not really having anything there.
Yeah, where you don't feel like you're ratcheted down with a leather
Yeah.
strap kind of thing.
Yeah, and the SLR2s was the first thing I ever used like a bungee toe on. I'd never really like I was never really interested in it. I liked a pretty tight toe, and like maybe that wasn't really good for me for like hips and knees. But then when I put it on and I used the clip and I was like, I don't notice a difference in a negative way. Like
Yeah.
I can do everything I need to do, and I'm not restricted in any way, shape, or form. So I took that as a good thing.
Hmm. No,
You know, I
totally.
can just use that.
For sure. And then I think when you want to talk about where pads are going, I think there needs to be a big goaltending change in terms of style, the way we make saves, the way we play. And the NHL always kind of dictates that because obviously once guys start seeing it in the NHL, guys and girls, all goalies, weekend warriors, when you start seeing it in the NHL, goalie coaches, all around the world start trying to grab and figure out, okay, well, why do you do that? How are they teaching it? Blah, 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 blah. Now, you look at like the reverse. The reverse is still a big controversy, and I don't want to get into that because whether you're standing up on the post and someone's taking a bad angle shot and they send it off the inside of your calf on, in a stand up position, or you're in the reverse and they're going top, cheese, it's like either way we look bad. So either stance you're exposed. But reverse VH is obviously big in today's game, so you need a lot more seal against that post. So when you look at like the way
Yeah.
the V9 chest protector wraps, we offered more rib protection because more guys are getting caught leaning and players are starting to fire pucks in. They're still firing pucks in. Even on a dead spot, you think you have full seal, your mask is tilted, or if you're tall, your shoulders fill in that top corner gap, whatever. If there's nothing to shoot at, they're still going to try and fire it and squeeze it through. So we wanted to offer more protection
Yeah,
in that sense.
Yeah.
So
So you mentioned like the spark and like goalie pads not really having this, big thing that's really pulling people in. Kind of looking back at the V9 and the pandemic and just everything that's happened over the past couple months, like from a retail side, how much harder is it to market the new things and like the new technology and the spark aspect when people can't go in store and try it on and check it out? Like how much more pressure does that add to the marketing side of telling that story without having the pad in someone's hand?
I mean, it's you bring up when you think about it from that aspect, and you guys working at Monkey, you obviously understand a couple different things. Marketing one does become huge. Videos, content, anything you can do to show off that product, show off any little sales feature on the pad that's been designed. You need to illustrate that and get that in front of people. But two, now you start talking economically speaking, like it's really hard to just throw people, throw gear on the site and throw it in front of people when you think, man, like times are tough. Like a lot of people are relying on stimulus checks. A lot of people are relying on that extra unemployment. So you got to think, like I've had a lot of people contact me and say, hey, Everett, like I don't want to bother you, but I had some questions about possibly getting a set. The only issue is going to be I don't need a set unless we play hockey. Like I need to save money. But if we play hockey, like I'd love to get new gear. And I'm like, dude, I totally get it. Whatever you need, whatever questions need to get answered, I'll let you know. You don't have to pull the trigger today because we're all in like, these are unprecedented times. That's what I keep telling people. Everybody's going through this, but we're on different spectrums of how serious it is, where some people financially might be more affected or some people's families might be more affected. So we all have to be sensitive to that kind of stuff. But with that being said, how do we do it? For me, I think the coolest thing is on social media when you put up a cool graphic rather than any specs, any like features, quick slide, this, that, or the other thing. If it looks sick and you put it on Instagram, it's gonna get more likes than anything else. Like, did you guys see the SLR2 stick promo?
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had a video like that
I saw
blow
it.
up in a long time. Over like I haven't checked it in a while, but when I saw it got over 12,000 views, I'm like, oh my god, this thing blew up. But I think it's just funny because it's like an SLR2 composite stick, obviously sick. Like that's our first composite in a long time, and we're really, really excited about it. We've got some really good reviews from college and pro guys using it. But to put it in the sand on a beautiful beach, I'm like, you're never gonna see anything like that before. So I think that's where you kind of catch the eye, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it's interesting from like a standpoint that everyone's kind of like an addict right now for hockey, where it's like we're not getting enough hockey, like we're not playing enough. We weren't watching it for a long time. So when you're sitting at home, like you're looking through your phone, you're seeing all this hockey stuff, you're seeing old videos from years ago that like all these NHL teams were posting. It's like you're like, wow, I really want to play hockey. And so that's when people go to someone like you and they're like, hey, I want to like plan out this gear. So when we are back playing hockey, like I can get this. Like I feel like I've seen that effect with a lot of people where they're like way more interested in hockey right now. And now that it's rolling back, everyone's like executing on getting back into it.
Yeah, and that's the very,
This
very
makes
exciting
park more
part.
fun, man.
Obviously for you guys too, when you can open the stores. I mean, you guys were earlier than everybody else, but like you talk about states out east and up here in the Midwest, now that stores are opening, people are in there, people are checking stuff out. Michigan just got the green light. I mean, it's totally weird how it's gonna go down. Like 2 parents per player. You got to wear masks on and off the ice, which I'm not. It'll be interesting how that goes. I'm all, whatever it takes to get games going again, because that's the biggest thing. Like everyone's been practicing. I've been doing goalie coaching, but it sounds like games are actually going to be able to be played. Um, now that everyone's back in stores, everyone's hyped for hockey. Everyone's getting stuff, getting new sticks, getting new gear, getting their skates done up, getting all like the little kids are pad wrapping pads. I think it's a really exciting time, but I think as you move forward, you just got to kind of be cautious, like obey the rules, like nobody ever wants to be told what to do, but if this is what it's going to take to play hockey in Michigan and you got to wear a mask when you're playing goalie, like so be it, right?
Yeah. Did you hear about what was going on in Chicago with hockey? Do you have any like friends out there?
No, but from what we've been hearing from the Steel, like the Chicago Steel and the U Show, it sounds like they might have to move, or USHL, for the listeners. It sounds like they might have to move out of state because Illinois might have shut down team sports for, until Jan 1 or
Yeah.
something like that.
So someone was telling me that they were going back to drop-ins for a while. It was like a few weeks, and then they had like a shutdown. And then like a bunch of people got mad and like came at them, and now they're doing it's like you can't have 5v5 hockey games.
And so the way that they're getting around it is they're just playing 4v4 and drop-ins. And like apparently that counts and you can do that.
See that? I
And
mean,
so I don't really get like the whole point of that.
in all things in law and order, I mean, there's always a loophole. Like my buddies that are lawyers, there's always a way to wrap around it. So, little hockey pun there for you. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you can do what it takes and you're within the boundaries, like just whatever you do, be safe. I went and played a roller hockey tournament, State Wars, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They had 2 rinks. The one was where the Comets play, and then the other one was like Sport One, I think it's called, like a practice facility, and Indiana Tech plays out of there. I went in. I always had hand sanitizer on me. Unfortunately, you can't shower after games. Like I don't. When I leave a bathroom, like before this had happened, I don't touch any like hand stuff. I don't touch anything. I use
Yeah.
my shirt. I use a sleeve, or like obviously if I can, I use a paper towel. Push the door open. Like I've always been cautious about that. But now, like when you go to the rink, just don't touch stuff. Don't lick the doors. Don't lick your hands after you touch the doors, and everything will be okay. Be cautious of where you're at with people around you. You know what I mean? Wear a mask. Be safe. Don't sit right on top of everybody. Don't breathe in someone's face. Just if you can follow the rules and we can continue to play hockey, it's great. Because I think, like you said, you hit it on the head. Everyone was starving for hockey content. Everyone was starving to watch games, to see anything that was hockey related. So you saw YouTubers, podcasts, everything was popping up, and people were blown up because it's like, well, I guess this is the only way I can get my fix. I mean, guys like you and me, Grayson, we're just addicted. I need my fix of hockey, right? Right.
So
We've been really having to stop Grayson from licking door handles the past 7 months.
it's a
It's been a
tragedy.
process.
Have you guys designed like a stopper yet?
Well, it's anytime we see it, we're like training him like a dog. It's like a shot collar kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Do you have a
and
spray
so far,
bottle?
it's a legitimate shot collar. He's wearing it under his hood
Oh.
right now.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So you mentioned podcasts were popping up,
That's what I was going to jump into
Yep.
as well.
and right after we had you on, not but a few weeks later, your podcast was born. So touch on that. What is Between Two Posts?
Well,
Man,
first of all, you're welcome for the awesome inspiration to do a goalie podcast.
Yeah, I
we're
know, we were
happy
your
to provide
main-
that
yeah.
for you. And yes, please jump and listen Between Two Posts.
I was waiting for the attack there. But thank you guys so much. You know what? At the end of the day, I said what Grayson and Jason are doing, like this is the blueprint. This is who is Joe Rogan? You know what I mean? Who's Joe Rogan? No, it's Jason and Grayson. Grayson's
True.
just like, hey Jason, look that up. Hey Jason,
We're
the
waiting for the
V9
Spotify.
the V9 pad. Look that up for me.
Yeah. A buddy of mine.
This is the outer roll is the blueprint, but we had actually been talking about it because somebody that at Vaughn, my boss Scott, his wife was she occasionally listens to the Joe Rogan podcast. And I was kind of in and out of podcasts. I'm ashamed to admit, Grayson, before you were there, I visited Dallas, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. I did a Null South trip. I was listening to like Spittin' Chicklets. I was listening to Caller Daddy, which is very shameful to admit. And I just wanted to see what it was all about. Jason,
Each
stop
their own.
laughing. I mean, okay, look, it was interesting. It was like, it was what was hot at the time, as Paris Hilton would say.
That was topical.
Yeah, and it was just that was pop culture. But after like 5-10 episodes, man, like they ran out of content, and it was just the same stuff, and it was just like, okay, the wheels are off the wagon now. But that got me thinking more about podcasts. I'm like, this is how people grab entertainment. If you like to listen, if you want to, like when you're on car rides or you want to get information, and there's more podcasts for smarter people that are more intelligent than I. Like NPR has a bunch of great ones. There's finance podcasts. There's the horror stuff. Like girls love listening to like the murder stories, which I'll never understand because Jesus, that's terrifying to me that you want to listen to that. But people love listening to murder stories. And we thought, what's one way we can bring content to goalies through an avenue that isn't like, I've seen some people do it where it's very, very, it's goalie. I'm trying to look for the right word, but very goalie eccentric, where it's very like, it's a shirt and collar, button down, put a tie on. Everything's really tight. It's compressed. It's very, very professional, I guess is the word. Uniform. I don't know. But like I said, I went to Michigan State, not a bright guy. But with that being said, it's very buttoned down, where like that's Vaughn brand that's not us. We're a mom and pop shop. We're very relaxed. We're very casual. Those are all the relationships we have with not only the goalies we deal with, but our stores. Like me and Grayson, it's like when we text each other, we make fun of each other probably more than we actually talk about serious stuff, right?
That's well true.
I mean, but also, with that being said, those are hockey relationships, right? Like that's how you treat guys on your team and your teammates, your players, everybody, the staff you deal with. It's all about having fun and being casual. So that's the route we wanted to go with. And then getting the other side of goaltending, not asking, hey, what do you do before pregame? Like, what do you eat? What do you do with your eyeballs? What are you staring at? Like, how do you tape your stick? It's more like, oh, dude, like, what did you do this summer? What do you get into? Like, what was fun? We saw you we had a great episode with Moose, John Muse he's with like the Kunlun team over there in China. He got stuck in Bali for like 3 months during quarantine because he couldn't get back. Like, how incredible of a trip was that? Like, the stories he told were hilarious, where like in China, he was visiting so many different places. When he walked in, he was the only white person that they had ever seen. One of maybe very few, like a handful of white people in a village that was far off like the beaten path, right? So the post he has is like to stand there and you just see all these people with like Nokia, like, $5,000-$10,000 lenses on them, like snapping pictures of you. Like, what is going on? I'm not National Geographic. I'm not like a sea ray in the sea. I'm not like a monkey eating like bananas up in a tree in the middle of the jungle. I'm just like, I'm a person. So I couldn't even imagine what that was like. And then most recently, one of our other popular episodes was Weeksy. I think a lot of people know Kevin Weeks today as like the NHL announcer, the face of the NHL network, talking about goaltending and all that kind of different stuff and having the insight. But like the stories he told from his come up are incredible because he remembers everybody. He remembers everything. He remembers every rink he was at, every staff member he ever talked to, coach, GM. The stories he told on that episode were incredible because he has such charisma, but he remembers every detail. Like, you could ask him, all right, so like your second pod hockey game in the December of 1990, who was all there? And he would name all players. He'd be like, oh yeah, we were playing with Lenny Metropolit, Joey Smitty, Snipey, like all those hockey names. AP, Rocket, like all those guys were there, and he'll always remember everybody, and he tells every story in such detail. But the main point is, we wanted to show personality. Like Cal Peterson, what was he doing during quarantine? He was building Lego sets. Like, I think he built like an F1, what do you call those, Formula One cars? Like, how cool is that? We found out that a lot of people don't like In-N-Out because it is trash, as you guys know. Throughout the dub,
Correct.
what
Correct.
a burger dub, baby! Here we go. Grayson, step out.
Go ahead.
It's fine. Ev, we can continue without him.
You're a Texas guy, aren't you, Grayson?
Me?
Yes.
No, I'm an Arizona kid.
Yeah, but In-N-Out,
Oh.
Arizona.
Arizona's
either.
California, and I went there
Uh.
several times a year.
You hear this guy?
This is.
I mean, I'm
Jason,
just
you got to
saying,
change
there
your
was-
staff around. Like
There was
I know,
In and
I-
Out
trust
in
me, I know.
Arizona way before Texas.
okay. Whataburger for the dub, obviously. We found that out, and
Man, okay. So that so the Whataburger actually brings me into another story that I was thinking of when you were talking about how Kevin Weeks knows every single person. This is completely random and I don't know why I thought about it, but it's one of the best nights of my life. So I used to play like Wednesday night drop-in roller hockey with a buddy of mine. And
heck yeah, I love to hear that.
yeah, a huge roller player. So we roll into the locker room. It's me, my buddy. I think O'Toole was there. No, 100% O'Toole was there.
Shout out O'Toole.
Yeah, shout out O'Toole. We got to get him on here at some point, just for the memes. He's kind of a celebrity in the goalie community. Don't want to tip that off. at all.
Absolutely. Big Indiana Tech goalie.
Yeah. But it was us three, and then there was this other guy who had like an English accent. I couldn't quite pin it still to this day. And my buddy Parker is tying his skates and he breaks his lace. And we're like about to go get on the rink. And the guy goes, hold on. And he like fixes his lace with like the other lace. It was the most incredible thing. He like
No way.
well-
That's impossible.
it was incredible. He like pulled the one lace out and then like tied the other one to it, and it was like perfect. And he was like, yeah, you just do the loop and you make it tighty. And we're like, what? And like, so we play with this guy. He's like pretty decent player. And then it was like a night drop in. So it's like almost, we're about to like leave, go home. And we're like, oh, we want to go eat. And he goes, I heard Whataburger has wonderful 24-hour service. And we're like, absolutely going to Whataburger. So we go to Whataburger with this guy, and he apparently like grew up in Louisiana. Like I guess he like moved there when he was really young.
It was
So-
just a Cajun accent.
Yeah,
that
no.
Grayson was confusing to be good at.
I had to clarify. I knew you were gonna come at me like that. But no,
Oh, man.
so he
Oh,
was
this
like
guy's so exotic.
it's so crazy. So he was like telling us all these stories about like he was like, oh, in 1994 in this rink in this area in Louisiana, like this guy fought this guy, and he would like pull up a YouTube video and he knew like exactly what day it was, like where it was. It was incredible.
How many
it's like-
punches were thrown? What the KO was?
Yeah, no, like 100%. Like he was like it's incredible. So I think people like Kevin Weeks and whoever this guy was, I forget his name. I knew if I asked one of my buddies, they would know. But yeah, like it's incredible talking to people like that because you're so much more engaged in their stories. You're like, you feel like you're there because it's just like, you know, every single tiny detail. Also, to cap out that story, I was turning into where my my house is, into my neighborhood, and there was 2 owls on one stop sign. Never gonna see that again in my life. I was
Did
like,
you
that
get a
caps
photo?
off the best night of my life.
Did you get a photo?
No, I wish I
Oh.
did.
As
Fix
the
it.
young kids would say, it smells like cap.
Yeah,
It smells like cap.
There's no cap on this podcast. All right, buddy.
Might be hat. So going back into your podcast, Ev,
Sorry, I had to tell that incredible story.
I mean, it's a weird story, but okay. So that's funny that you kind of mentioned like the human element, because that's, you know, we came from it at the same angle, right? A couple of years ago, I mean, really when I started about 2 years ago, it was like podcasts were just starting to get really hot, right? And kind of the ones you talked about, like Chicklets was just kind of starting, Pardon My Take, like some of the really big, like Barstool was obviously kind of kicking it off, and then NPR and everything else, like you said. And so it's like, yeah, we got to get into this, but we have to have a way that we kind of tell our own voice. And like the way that it grew from there was, you know, we haven't really wanted to get like the Ben Bishops and these really big guys that, you know, they're going to get these kind of canned sports interviews of
Yeah.
like, I mean, you've seen a sports interview. It's always the same, right? So we try to take it from the angle of like, you get someone that can tell a story, you make it humanizing, and you make it like fun and exciting. And we kind of built out a roster of people who we want on based on that. So kind of going
And I'm
into
on here, baby. Here we
Yeah,
go.
up even. But kind of with that mindset, like, do you kind of plan out ahead and think like, oh man, Kevin Weeks is going to have these awesome stories, we have to get him on? Or is it more like, you kind of look at the stable of on athletes, or you look at people that you've worked with and build it out that way? Like, kind of how do you talent manage in that aspect?
I mean, it's anybody that's willing to talk. Originally, obviously, like he's a beauty. Guy's very, very calm, unreal athlete, goaltending, like expert, obviously, 2 cups. But obviously, we asked him about the cup runs. That's very, very exciting. And I think the average fan is going to want to know about those. But, like, what is Matt Murray down to the core? Like, he snuck away a year ago and had a secret wedding. He had been dating his girlfriend since he played in the Sioux, like before he played for the Sioux Greyhounds. So they've been together for a long time. They had a secret wedding at his house up on the lake, and it was just beautiful, well done. Like, what's Matt Murray like? He ended up buying a basketball net during the pandemic because he wanted to stay entertained and like do something athletic. And we asked him like, "Oh, can you dunk?" He's like, "No, not really." It's like, "Okay, Matt, well, you got no hops, but like your left to right on a 2-on-1 is disgusting. So I guess it breaks even." Um, like in terms of that, we'll interview anybody. We're finding though, guys, it's obviously like guys that are done playing, they have a different view on things. They can come from a different angle. They don't have to be really as buttoned up because they don't have to worry about what they're saying about a story here or there. We found guys that played in the Vietnam, the Dirty Null South, as you guys may know, down there in Texas and the southern region. Like, kids that have stories from that are incredible because everyone can relate to it because everyone's playing junior hockey. So when you talk about just a tip is somebody that's played where more people, like the pool is bigger, they can relate to so many more guys. And it's not only just NA tier 2 or tier 1 or the O. It's you have people playing in the EHL. You have people playing USP. So everyone's going through those junior hockey stories. They're going through those memories and they're remembering, oh yeah, I remember when our bus broke down, or remember when they gave us those dirty whoppers after the game after we got just shellacked like 10-1. You remember that stuff, and then it helps connect everybody with that, with those stories. But it's always cool hearing about Kevin Weeks, just playing street hockey in the back alley in Toronto, and then eventually making his way into the show and having a great career, and then turning on to the NHL Network. So you have a lot of different aspects. We don't target anyone specifically, but we are finding who can come up with more stories and have more things to say, or guys that aren't playing still or might be playing at a different level to say. But as we move forward, we also want to expand outside of goalies. We're looking to get into goalie coaches, people that we've dealt with at certain stores, people that we just kind of want to give, excuse me, like you mentioned it, a podcast gives you a voice. We want to give a voice to others that might need to reach out. So
Yeah, that's one thing I found that was like important to me when we were making this, was to not only give athletes a voice, but also brands a voice as like a retail company.
Yep.
So like, I feel like you're the best of both worlds in this situation, because we had our first interview and it was like very like Vaughn focused, all
Tech specific.
Yeah, and it was like all V9. We've done the same thing with Warrior, and that's like, I love doing that one. And so it's like you can talk about how like something was developed and give someone the inside scoop to feel more personal with the company. But then also you have like the personality to go with it, where it's like you can throw off like some ridiculous jokes and you can just talk about how you're living all the time. So I feel like you're kind of the best of both worlds, and that's why we're having you on twice right now, is because you're just a joy to talk to. And so like you doing a podcast, I think is fantastic. And if no one's checked out Between Two Posts just yet, then go ahead. Like, Ev's the guy, like he's got everything.
You give me way too high of praise, Crazy. I have a big head that doesn't fit many masks, but after today, it probably won't fit mine after this. So I do appreciate the kind words, but I think we were talking about this before, and it's from a sales side, whether you're working in hockey, you're working in, you're selling medical gowns, or, selling, outdoor toilets, or like, I can't think of, what do you call that? a porta potty, if you're selling porta potties, or you're
Tree.
selling hand sanitizer, like if you're selling anything, people want to deal with. And this isn't, you don't even have to be selling. It could be just working at a job or being on a team. People want to be and work with people that have personality. They have some jam to them, substance. They're not just like the arrogant person that wants to be the high and mighty, or the person that just doesn't say anything. You got to have a little bit of both. You got to find a happy medium. You know what I mean? I probably have a little bit too much one way because I talk too much and I get too loud. But you know what? It's that's the Italian in me. Ha 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 ha. Because I'm a bomberito. Get it? You get that? You guys get that joke?
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, that's what it's all about. It's just having fun and telling stories, right?
Yeah, I feel like the perfect example of like two ads that I've seen is like who I'm more likely to buy from is like who's that one guy like Dr. Squatch, who
No
have
clue
you
what
ever
you're
seen
talking
that
about.
guy? He was like it's like the hair and beard stuff. You ever seen those commercials?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but you know,
You guys
making this
haven't
up.
seen that?
No.
It's like it's just like this long hair like lumberjack looking dude, and they like sell soap, and like that's all it is. I forget what it's called, but like they sell soap. But I'm like way more likely to buy that because they have like an engaging ad that's funny and it's like very straight up. It's like made by dudes for dudes, like kind of like stuff like that, rather than the fitness dude. He's like, I know you're sitting here fat and you don't you're sitting here watching YouTube. You should buy my program. Like I'm way more likely to like listen to someone who's like being funny and like straight up than someone who's trying to sell like a program in like a very like scientific way.
exactly, because you want to connect with something that's, more friendly and like, oh, I can relate to these guys, such as a small chipmunk named Bucky. Like I'm much more likely to stop at a Bucky's to get my food, gas,
forgot
a
you were-
t-shirt, my
I literally
40
have-
ounce soda, my candy, my outdoor fixtures, maybe a barbecue, and then get my gas as well, all from Bucky. Yes, everybody, listeners, it all happens at one store. You go to Bucky's, and you get it there. So I just had to
All
give
right.
them a plug.
Follow question. You go to
my God.
Bucky's, you're walking in, you're picking your items. What are your top 5 items you get?
Um,
You can get 5
Brisket.
items from Bucky's. What are you getting?
the Brit,
100%. Sliced
okay.
or chopped?
sliced.
Respect it.
No, yeah,
That
yep.
didn't
Mixed
have a
sandwich.
good response. Okay. Well, now I feel bad about that.
I'm
think
from
last
Kansas
time-
City, so my Texas barbecue opinion is
I
it's
like
correct,
the, I like
but
the
I'm not a
chopped
Texas
brisket
barbecue guy.
sandwich.
you can't tell me Kansas City does better barbecue than Bucky's. So you can Jason, just log out for me. Take a back seat.
Thank you
Yep.
guys.
Doors to the back left. But anyways, I'm gonna go there, get a brisket. I want the what do you call it? The toasted cinnamon almonds. Delicious.
Oh, fantastic.
Another
go-to.
T-shirt.
Absolutely.
I think I
Another
had
t-shirt.
I had mac and cheese there, and then
Gas.
no, I can't drink gas. Sorry about that.
Well, not for personal consumption.
Oh, it's
Oh.
in the store. You're not getting gas.
Okay,
But we're
Well,
giving
maybe
you gas for mac and cheese.
If you
actually,
think Texas barbecue is better than Kansas City barbecue, you might as well be drinking gas.
okay, Jason. You know what, guys? I just remembered. I got this other thing I got to go do. And then lastly,
Yeah. Oh man, we haven't been
uh,
recording the whole time. Dang.
perfect. I'm glad we wasted everybody's time. What was it? Oh,
we gotta have someone
and then a
else. Sorry.
Nutrageous candy bar. That's one of the best Reese's products ever. You can't tell me it's better. Reese's Cup is better. The Nutrageous candy bar is the best. Peanut butter, caramel, nougat, chocolate, and whole peanuts. Oh my goodness. That's why I'm overweight.
2 things I think you should get on your next Bucky's trip.
A
One,
diet.
apple pie. Yeah. That's after. That you feel bad.
Oh no,
No,
I did have the
they have,
apple
like,
pie.
these
I
apple
remember the
pies.
apple pie. You're right. That is delicious. Sorry. Put
They're
that back on the list. Dish
They're-
the T-shirt. I'll get the T-shirt another time.
And then also the O'Toole go-to is it's like a sausage on a stick that has a tortilla wrapped around it.
I saw that.
It's fantastic.
Oh man, nothing better than a
So-
sausage tortilla on a stick. You know, when I go to Texas, that's what I'm thinking.
So we could talk forever about Buc-ee's, but we're getting a little long in the tooth. So I do have one final question for you about Between Two Posts.
Hit me.
So when you're interviewing guests and you're kind of setting everything up, and as you sort of get to the end, I mean, how much responsibility do like you personally feel to grease the wheels and get some of your guests over to the outer role? Because I mean, as kind of the godfathers of your podcast, we feel that you need to be kind of doing the grunt work to get our podcast to continue to grow. So how much do you feel that personally?
So after every podcast, I don't actually say it when recording, but when we finish up, I say, hey guys, you need to check out the people that really gave me my start. They're the ones that gave me my beginning in this industry and this business of podcasting. They taught me how to be better than anything Barstool and anything they've ever put out.
Correct.
And I say, you got to check
Mhm.
out the outer role. And then they go check it out and they say, wow, man, you're like the ECHL, you're the Every Cent Helps, and they're like the NHL, they're the national. And I'm
I'd
like,
say that's probably pretty accurate.
and I say, okay, well that hurt a lot, so I'm just gonna sit on that for a little bit. But no, I'm glad you checked out their podcast. So that's kind of how that goes typically. And then I have to go like see a therapist for a little bit. But you know what? You got to dig deep, bear down, show some jam.
Sometimes you gotta like throw the pucks on the corners and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah, you got to get in there and muck it up, right? Like going to the corner with a smile on your face. Those are your utility guys, Swiss Army knife.
We must be a little behind on the residual checks, but we'll keep an eye on the mail. Don't worry about that one.
I checked the DMs the
It's
other
probably
day.
just a post office problem.
It was just hate, nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, it's USPS, the whole political thing. I mean, you guys are in Texas, so I don't know. I don't know where your state stands on the USPS. So, well, maybe I'll try FedEx. I'll try FedEx, Federal Express.
All right, we'll try that. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
right,
I
so-
wanted to go into. Go ahead.
Oh, I was
I have
going to
more.
end this. We've
Oh.
gone for like a half hour now.
No, I got some closing statements
Oh,
for Ev
goodness. All
himself.
Fire it up.
So, I wanted to go into your personal endeavors,
Life.
Ev Devers. I don't know.
Man, you
So
spent a lot
you
of time
have-
on that one.
Yeah,
He
actually,
texted me at midnight last night and said, "Guess what I just thought
it's
of."
actually page 35. So you had two different accounts where you reviewed and you traveled. I don't know if the traveling one was actually an account, but I know the reviews was an account. So I wanted to speak on what's the best thing you ever reviewed.
Mm. You know what? And this is
Did you call them rev views? Like with the EV capitalized?
Views.
Please tell me you did.
oh no, I missed out on that. But I see why you're the idea guy, Jason.
Mhm.
So the best
Thank
thing
you.
I had ever reviewed. Best thing I had ever reviewed. I'm gonna say this now because that was like maybe what 2-3 years ago. Was I being, an adopted Korean man from Korea, from Seoul, getting sent into America, into the Midwest, playing hockey, having an Italian family. Facial hair is something that I struggle with because you can't grow it, but everyone has like a beard or a mustache, like very cool, right? So ever since college, like you start doing no shaves in November and it looks horrible. It looks awful and it's embarrassing. You know what? You show up, it's like going to the rink and putting up a performance where you're letting up 5 on 10. Like it's like, why did this guy come? Let's get a new goalie. This guy's embarrassing. That's what it felt like to me. And you could see it, like you could feel the ridicule in the locker room to the point where you don't shower and you just get out and you go home as soon as possible. That's what it felt like. But now I have a mustache. Quarantine allowed me to grow this beautiful thing out, and I'm very embracing it. It's very full. Like look at that. So back then, when I did my
We'll
Ev
keep the
reviews-
video aspect of it.
Thank you. When I did Ev reviews, it was like when I smiled, you could see through it, and you could just see my face, and it was just so embarrassing. So that's probably my favorite thing I've ever because it gives me nostalgia. Like this is where I was, and this is where I'm at today. I've come a long way. I've developed. I've as a person, just grown.
Yeah, I
Wait, so the
believe-
answer is a mustache?
Yes.
Is the best thing you've ever reviewed is your own personal mustache?
Jason, you're from Kansas City. I don't want to hear it. You get one Super Bowl
I
and now
know.
you just don't shut up. Jesus.
I will take
Jesus.
my full beard and leave.
This guy can grow a killer muzzy. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like we have pictures to prove it.
Yeah, but he's from Kansas City, so it doesn't.
We'll get an
doesn't
Ev
matter.
review of it going.
So upon my research, you actually rated your own mustache a 2 out of 10.
Yes.
Care to comment?
It was bad. That one was bad. I mean, it was 3 years ago. I couldn't grow anything, but I grew it out just
You
to
wanna, like,
see what was going to happen.
You're updating your review to your current mustache and just gassing yourself on our podcast.
Yeah. So say today, I was to review this, I'd give myself I give it a 7.5 out of 10 because I don't have any curl yet. I want to get some curl coming off the
Okay.
sides, and that's when I think it'll be upgraded to a 9. So today, 2020, 7.5 mustache. 3 or 4 years ago, it was like a 2 out of 10. It was embarrassing. People looked at you. They're like, "Dude, what are you doing? Are you blind? Did you lose a bet? What are you bad at hockey?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm all of those things." So
Yeah, check them all.
How would you review this episode of The Outer Roll?
I've had a lot of fun here. So you know
He's a
what?
hard grader.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the pizza reviews and where that grading scale is, if you multiply it by 3 for the conversion to hockey, you add Grayson in, you take out Jason's beard and his arrogance from being from Kansas City, it probably puts us at like
Okay,
a 9.2. 9.2.
I'll take it.
That was
If only I was from like Indianapolis or something.
that was
would
a
be like
huge
11.1.
knock for Jason's beard. That I don't know how we still got to 9.2.
I mean, that it shaved off like a whole half a point. So like now we're saying 9.7. Lose the shirt, Jason.
Yeah,
Wear
but
something
the
better.
grading scale added. So.
So
It's
yeah,
game day, baby. Come on. All right. Well,
No.
we've been all over the place in The Outer Roll, as was probably expected round 2 with you, Ev. But as we mentioned to everyone out there that's listening, thanks for sticking through this nonsensicals we've gone through. But check out Between Two Posts, Vaughn Custom Sports, signature podcast, godfathered by The Outer Roll at Monkey Sports. Ev Bomarito, as always, man, thanks so much. We'll see if we bring you back for part 3 here in the next couple months.
yeah. If I don't
Next
get
month.
brought back, I know I've really dropped on that talent roster. So Jason, thank you. Raisin, thank you. I appreciate the time. It was a lot of fun.
Of course.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you later.
Always a treat.